Welcome to Soltron. This is a video review for the LDCX Predator drone and the Stealth drone. Here's a size comparison with Transformers and the Super Train robot. And these guys are ridiculously heavy, so let's go ahead and get their weight comparison too. So here's the Predator drone. He's 17 ounces pretty much. And then the Stealth drone, he's 11 ounces, and you compare that to Starscream here, who is 5 ounces. And then let's compare him to like the Super Train robot, the old figures. Well, this guy can't really stand up. He's about 15 ounces, a lot bulkier and bigger. So these guys have a ton of die cast weighing them down. And these guys come with colored instructions, and then they come with like a little certificate with a picture of the robot. So it's got a nice cardstock pamphlet pretty much, and it's got a picture of the robot and the drone, and then an information piece. And it's all in Chinese, so I have no idea what any of this says. And it's all like nicely stitched together in the spine. So the Predator here has a pretty cool head sculpt. He's got, on one side of his head, he's got this red Chinese star, which is pretty cool. He's got a really awesome looking head sculpt actually. And then if we do a 360 of his body here, you can see his wings are just sticking out the side or the back. And those are his tail wings, and then his regular wings just fold up to the forearms here. And then you can see he's got the nose of the Predators on his calves. And this guy, unfortunately, he does have parts forming, not counting the weapons. So the weapons, he has his missile load. You basically turn those around and they peg into his hand here to sort of become kind of guns. It's not super convincing. They still look like missiles. Go ahead and get those out of his hand. And then he's got like this built-in weapon, which is kind of like scissors. These claw weapons, which is pretty cool. So I like that they incorporated that. Overall, I think the aesthetics of this robot's pretty awesome. He's very streamlined. He looks like a current age robot that Mitsubishi or something is putting out. But yeah, aesthetically, I think he's pretty pleasing. He's probably like a 7. He's good looking, a little generic though. And then the kibble on him, the kibble management leaves a lot to be desired. Like his legs these don't look very good. And then this is parts forms on here. There's really no excuse for it not to look better since it's got parts forming. This guy's got tons of die cast, so his whole crotch piece here is die cast. His shoulders are die cast. The front of the drone is die cast. You can't really see it, but his chest column that's underneath this plastic chest, that's all die cast. And that's why this guy's so heavy. He's almost a pound by himself. And then his articulation, of course, he has no head articulation. His arms do swivel. I think that's for transformation. He does have double jointed elbows, so that's nice. So he can get some decent elbow poses, but he's got all this junk behind his elbow, which is kind of typical of LDCX robots. So he can't really relax his arms. And then he doesn't have wrist swivel, but he does have the pivot for transformation. He does have a little bit of outward kick, but this armor here gets in the way. And then he does have knee joints, which click nicely, definitely 90 degrees. But he doesn't have any forward or backward hip motion. He's just got the in and out. So you're not going to get any good poses. And then he's got a little bit of ankle tilt. But yeah, you're not getting any really good poses out of this guy because he can't turn his head. And his legs don't bend to help secure any positions. So that's like the most action pose you can get right there. So let's go ahead and start transforming this guy. We're just going to rip off these drone pieces that are on his calves. And they do have a little bit of transformation. They open up here, which makes it kind of look like rocket thrusters in his calves, which is pretty cool. So you're just going to rip that off and then close it up, and you get the front of the drone very clearly. And you're just going to peg those two front halves together. Then you can lower the landing gear for later. So just put that off to the side. Now let's see. So now you're going to You can point his toes up, which is pretty typical transformation. His hips are on a double hinge, so you're going to just sandwich those together, clip everything nice together, and then you're just going to collapse the leg. And then unlike the other robots, this hinge doesn't actually hide when you collapse the legs, so that's something that's actually a little bit worse about this guy. And then you can peg this to the front of the drone, and that's going to peg in nicely in place. And then you have a lot of the drone already. And now you're going to take the whole chest section and you're going to unclip that from this column here, and this column is the part that's all die cast. And you're going to get the rear wings ready, so you can see he's taking shape. And then this half is just going to fold over his head, so he doesn't have a spring-loaded head gimmick like some of the other LDX figures. Okay, there it goes. So you got a lot of the drone now, so now you just got to worry about the arms. Okay, so his whole arm assembly, you're going to rotate the wrists in. You're going to unfold the arm panel and then close up the pinchers. And then you're going to rotate the shoulder armor into this way, because that's where it takes up the least amount of space. And then you're going to rotate this forward, and then this missile elbow is going to face forward. And then you just peg that right into here on the wing. It's a little tricky to do that, so I had to bring it closer and do it off camera, but there you go. Everything's nice and pegged in, and then you have a really good looking drone, and then you're just going to peg in his missile load to the bottom of the wing. And then you can see where the chest section is, that's where his rear wheels are, and then he's got his front wheel there. And then you have the Predator drone. I think that looks pretty good. It's really huge. It's probably as big as the space station robot I had earlier, so on my last video. But you can see this is him with a Voyager transformer. He's as big as the whole thing. I don't know if that's realistic. I don't know if these drones are really that big. Maybe they are. But so he's huge. He's way bigger than a jet. And he feels pretty good in hand. These robots, I think, are better than the Super Train robots. They don't feel as fiddly. So I think the quality is pretty much a 9. They're pretty solid. The plastic could probably be a little bit more durable, so I wouldn't be so worried about things snapping off. But they feel really good in hand. I think their quality has definitely gone up. And the die cast really makes this feel like a quality robot. He looks pretty good from underneath. Well, there's a lot of kibble, but I like the red accents. I think that looks really awesome. And then, like, as for transforming this one back and forth, I think he's kind of average. I don't look forward to transforming him. I've only done it a couple times. I would say he's like the fun factor is probably like a 6. He's okay to transform. Nothing special, nothing really fun to do. And then the parts forming definitely I'm not into that. Okay, let's go on to our second drone. So his head sculpt, not as interesting. It's pretty bland. It is, of course, your pilot helmet, and then he's got this visor, which has a little bit of paint damage. He does have a spring-loaded head. And then his die cast is this whole panel on his chest here. That's all die cast. And then his toes are die cast. And then this, wait, no, maybe that's it on this guy. Oh no, and then all these waist to torso sections, these are all die cast here. So his posability is not very good. He can't turn his head, of course. He does have rotating shoulders. He's got in and out on his shoulders. He does have bicep swivels too, which is nice. He does have wrist articulation, which I think they just threw that in to put it in there. And then this guy, unlike almost all of them, can kick forward and he can kick backwards. And he's got full outward kick. And then he's got more than 90 degrees on the knee. In fact, yeah, he's got really 180 on the knee. It's double joint. And then he's got maybe the slightest pivot. It's hard to tell if that's intentional. Oh yeah, these parts are also die cast. So yeah, he's got maybe almost like 30% of his body's die cast. And he comes with these these cool guns, so they look pretty good. And they're not hollow on the other side, so that's nice. But yeah, so that's about it for this guy. Nothing too special. And then I really like the way they did his wings here. Like, as far as this robot goes, I don't really like the look of him. He's probably a 6. I think he does look a little bit like a knockoff toy. He's very generic looking, but the wings are really cool, and I wish more jet robots would do this, because his wings are actually, for transformation, they actually form like this, which is pretty cool. But then in his alt mode, or his robot mode, they fold up like this to give him kind of that moth look. So it's a really cool thing they do with his wings. I like that a lot. And then when you are transforming him, his wings fold in like that, and then his weapons just peg in right inside the wings for really great weapon storage. And then you're going to get his head and just, actually, let's see, we got to separate. Okay, I transformed this guy once, so I definitely forgot what to do, but you need to separate his back panel here. And then that's going to allow his back armor to fold up and this chest armor to fold up, and then you can separate this whole stomach section, which is all die cast. And then this is going to split in half, which is pretty special. Okay, so he's split in half like this, and now you got to get this leg panel, and that's clipped onto his leg. And you're going to fold up the whole leg section. Oh, and he does have thigh swivel. I forgot to mention that. I always forget that piece of articulation. And then you point up his toes. And then actually this armor panel should be on the other side of his calf. So that's all going to end up here, back here, like this. Okay, so now we can get the backpack section can be folded up into that chest section. We're going to have the wings up and out of the way. And then we can start straightening out these legs. So the legs are actually going to end up right here. So it's the arms that you're going to need to position back here. So they rotate off the chest section. They're just going to rotate back, and they end up very easily back here, and you're just going to hinge those on the double hinge here, and that's going to form the back of the jet right there. So the legs are actually the last step. Okay, now that we got that cleaned up, now the legs, the little leg panels can clip in here. And then you can just lower the wings and just squeeze everything together so everything clips into place. And there you go. And then the quality on this guy feels very good too. I would say he's probably a 9 for quality. Again, the die cast really helps make them feel a little bit more premium. You can fold down the landing gear here. He's just going to sit nicely. And he's a lot smaller than the Predator. So here's the two of them together. So this guy spreads out a lot, and this guy just kind of turns into a flying triangle, but he looks pretty good, very simple looking. He's got a big mess under his undercarriage, but jet mode is looking really good and realistic. And then he is about the size of a Transformers Voyager. So this guy, I would say the fun factor, he's a little bit more fiddly than the Predator. I'd say probably for transforming him forward and backward, he's kind of a hassle because all the armatures and double hinges. He's probably like more of a 6 to transform. I'm not super into it, but he's not that hard once you get some practice in. Like I said, this was the second time I did it, and I was just confused about a couple parts. But yeah, if you like these robots, definitely big thanks to Sir Toys, where I wouldn't have even heard of any of these Chinese robots if it wasn't for them. So you can check out that link in my description and buy directly from them, and I'll see you in the next one.